beautiful there. It's what Franz says. There's no tension, so there's no energy flow. There's tensions, but there's one tension that's missing, you know. But it's outside of life when it's this too beautiful aspect. It's good for the young forms of life, but it's not suitable for the adult or the mature side. So there are three feminine figures in this. It really is what she says at the end. There's going to end up being five. The mother is the matrix. She's just nature. And inside of them is this, what becomes a double marriage, a quaternity between these two. And so the setting of the three feminine demands that a fourth thing appears. Okay, now two aspects. First, it comes in winter. So it comes at a time of where everything is in hibernation. There's no growth and everything. But this is the time of it just reminded me of Briar Rose, you know, this aspect where what was she doing for 100 years? She was really had turned into a cocoon, and she becomes an adult, mature woman, you know. But so there's this image of winter, and there's an image of the masculine bear. Now, the masculine bear is a very ancient symbol, and she brings in this wonderful image of, and you know it's related. You absolutely know it's related to the Artemis of Baron. This is right here in Greece is the archaeological site of Baron. It is the shrine of Artemis. Okay, and what happened at the shrine of Artemis, you know, or the temple of Artemis? Now we got Snow White and Rose Red. Okay, let's just go quickly on me. But there is what happens at Baron is that there is these here. Let me show you what happens at Baron. This is a these statues come from the temple of Baron. I just have to have it load here for some reason. My whole iPad's on. There we go. Okay, now these are these are the little girls at Baron. They're little bear cubs. Okay, you know. Now the myth is that Agamemnon, you know, had insulted Artemis, you know, and that he required a sacrifice, and the sacrifice was his daughter. I never can remember. It's like Iphigenia or something like that. But anyway, yeah, Iphigenia, and so she escapes through taking off her, slipping out of her robe. I mean, they were trying to gag her and bind her, but she slips out of her robe and then appeals to the elders for pity, you know. And so that was the image of the shrine of Artemis. That's what these girls do. They acquire bear shirts. Here's they have a cave. This is the cave of this was the cave of the bear. It's all there. You know, this is the shrine to the goddess of Diana or Artemis or whatever you want to call her. You know, it's just has a lot of beautiful scenes in it. But anyway, so it's going to this image of the bear coming there is to protect for a certain amount of time, to protect the young girls from entering from they need to develop their feminine side before they enter the realm of great tension, of the sexual tension between male and female. What von Franz says, if you don't go in too quickly, if you go in too quickly, you can lose your creativity. And that's where the dwarf comes in too. The dwarf is the creative aspect in almost every thing. He's the one who, you know, he's a smith. You know, it amazes me. The word smith, you know, comes from someone who works with metals. And it's the most common name in at least in the United States. So there must have been a lot of smiths. But anyway, this image of the bear is very ancient. I mean, this is right here. This is in Chauvet. I mean, it goes back 300,000 years. I mean, this is the bear shrine at Chauvet. They found this undisturbed 35,000 years. You know, and by the way, Chauvet has more animal paintings on it than any other cave. I mean, more species. Let's put it that way. You know, and here's the bear painting in Chauvet. And it's very beautiful, very, very lifelike. Now they had at the time they had the cave bear, you know, which was this huge bear, which is extinct now. But anyway, the idea is of this, the protector of the young feminine is the bear, you know, and oh, and there's one other aspect I just wanted to show you too. I forgot about this. Is the let's see, yeah, this. Let's see if I can find it here. But see, there's a lot of images there of the bear removing its hide. See, that the bear, underneath the bear skin lies a more developed consciousness. Okay, that we all wear bear skins, and there's something more developed behind it. So now all of these things, images we're finding in Snow White and Rose Red. You know, it's just very beautiful. And then the word berserker, just to finish the thing, that's as if anybody's from Norway, you know, they know that means bear shirt, you know, and that is someone who fights at the bear as a bear. I don't know if you ever remember, the Battle of Hastings. That was the later battle, but originally there was the Battle of Stamford Bridge, and this was on, I think, September. In September, King Harold had to fight the Norseman King Hodrada from Norway, and he defeated him. But here's a berserker. You know, there's this one Norseman who held them off for hours on a bridge and just kept killing and killing. The only way they could kill him was to go up underneath and stab him, you know, with a spear. But anyway, it's this image of the bear. Now the bear, so the feminine consciousness must develop under a veil of protection, and not go to the other side too early. The girls who wear bear shirts are more alert, and they do better in later life, was her feeling. what the idea is to meet the masculine at a higher level. Don't go over to the masculine realm before you have reached a very high feminine level. So there needs to be this veil of protection, which is the bear shirt. You know, don't of the children of Artemis. You know, so the bear. And now the other idea here too is there's going to be two animus in this thing. One, or in this fairy tale, there are two animus. One is they both have to do with the aggressive response. The two overly gentle world of Snow White and Rose Red, and the overly passive, overly submissive is not going to, it's going to be overrun by the outer world. There needs to be another force within the feminine that balances her, within the woman that balances her. By the way, you know, one thing I want to mention too is that every mother has an animus, every father has an anima, every, you know, Jung called this cross cousin marriages, you know, and we're going to talk about that at the end. So when we're talking about anima and animus, we all meet anima and animus, and this is a very famous image that he had of what were called, you know, up until recently, everyone, like right now, they said 10% of the marriages in the world right now are cross cousin marriages. That means that you marry your first or second cousin, that you share a grandparent, you know. And see, what you have here is the adept and the sister, the mystical sister. This is for the alchemist, the one who is trying to individuate, and then his feminine companion in the outer world, or the feminine woman, the woman and her male companion, the one who's trying to individuate, and then so the woman has this relationship with the adept, who has a relationship with the anima, who she has to deal with. See the arrow that goes from the anima to the sister, and then the sister has to deal with the animus, and then her male companion has to deal with her animus, which is not her, by the way. It's not her voice. The voice, it can be her voice if she is conscious of it. And this whole fairy tale, and almost all fairy tales like this, the next one is going to be really about the very destructive animus, is the becoming conscious of the masculine and the feminine and energies within us, and not being unconscious of it. So there's two animus in the woman. One, and they both have to do with the compensation of the absolutely vital need for gentleness, compassion, connectedness, concern about the narrow horizon, the one there across from you, not the horizon that we can't even see, or the rim of the universe. You know, it's this person who's right before us, absolutely essential. But then there's also, that needs to be compensated. It needs to be protected by an aggressive firmness. Okay, there's two kinds of firmness. One is the appropriate firmness, and one is the inappropriate firmness. Okay, so now the inappropriate firmness, the inappropriate aggressiveness, is represented by the dwarf.
And say that again. I missed what word you're using there. The inappropriate what?
The inappropriate aggressiveness of the animus. There's an appropriate aggressiveness of the animus,
Oh,
which
I
is
see.
done without shouting. Okay, there's no shouting needs to be done. And then there's the inappropriate aggressiveness of the dwarf, which is all about shouting, because it's all about silly arguments and silly. I mean, it's just constant irritation, constant annoyance of everything. Everything upsets us. You know, Okay, let's look through what the dwarf does. First, he gets his beard caught, and we're going to talk about the beard because the beard's important. The beard gets caught in the. He's trying to chop a tree down with a wedge, or split the wood, I guess, with a wedge, and he gets his beard caught in it, and then nobody can get it out, so they cut it off. Okay, all right. Well, he doesn't like that, and why he doesn't like it is because it's a symbol of the girls are not going to be entangled in him. I mean, they're not going to get tangled up with him, with his unconscious. See, hair is fur, and it's our remnants of fur, and metaphorically, if it grows out of our head, it represents the creative and the unconscious thoughts we have, and this aspect when Delilah cuts off the hair of Samson, she really is de-souling him more than anything else. And then the one of the beard represents unconscious talk, which she calls the constant stream of logos, which contradicts itself over and over again, and it seems to always want to. So now this is a form of aggressiveness. It really is. If you think of logos, where Christ or Manjushri, okay, comes with the sword of discrimination, and he's going to, what he really does is cut things in half and differentiates. That's, it's this pointed aspect. It's not the receptive one. The receptive one is where you can where you can listen to people, you listen without responding. You just give feeling. You listen and you don't give logos answers back to them. What you give back to them is compassion. That's just being receptive. You're not being argumentative or whatever, And so there's the aspect of the woman as a receptive vessel for life and for fertilization, and where the man represents this more pointed aspect, but both, in the fact that he has this sword of discrimination, which cuts things up, and the fact that he is this active one who fertilizes the receptive vessel. Okay, so there's vessels, and then there's something that has to enter the vessel to allow that vessel to come. Now, Miles is talking about us, being these little specks. These energies are all in us, and this fairy tale is going to tells us about that too. I mean, because this fairy tale, is several hundred years old. They come from the Grimm's brothers collected them, and they come from the ancient oral tradition, which was, it was a particularly in the Celt realm. We had it up until the turn of the century of the 20th century. It was very vibrant, But these things are collective dreams. No one wrote them, but what they describe is the psyche. So anyway, we have the Snow White and Rose Red are in the unconscious, being under the protection of the bear, bears and their bear shirt. He has to leave in the spring, and as he he makes a hint during his stay that if they're too rough with them, they're not going to get married. So the idea is this undifferentiated animus that is staying with them is going to eventually lead to them becoming adult females with either a relationship with the archetype of meaning, or a relationship with a man in the outer world. So that's where it's all leading to. It's leading to both the inner and the outer marriage, you know. And so as he's leaving in the spring, she doesn't want to open. Snow White, you know, the pure one, is sorry to see him go, doesn't open the door wide enough, tears his bear coat, and she sees gold under it. Okay? So this is her treasure. See that now. Then we come up with this. He leaves. Okay. Then we come up with the dwarf, who is the inappropriate aggressiveness of the feminine. Now, both the bear and the dwarf are inside the girls. Okay, I mean inside the feminine consciousness. So these are personifications of the animus in the feminine consciousness. They're just personifications. They're represented as a bear and a dwarf. One, the appropriate responds, the other, the inappropriate. So then the bear leaves. He's the appropriate one responds, and he's suddenly gone. And we know he has the gold because we saw it under his coat. And so then he's gone. So now what comes up? Okay. Now he's gone, the appropriate response. So now what we heard this from Gerhard Adler too. If you do not have an appropriate relationship with the animus or the anima, they marry the shadow. Okay, because they got to marry somebody, and if you're not going to pay attention to them, they're going to marry your shadow. So they're going to create all kinds of mischief because they're going to be related to your dark personal side. They're going to be wed to your dark personal side. So this is the unconscious, this is the animus as it appears when we don't have an appropriate connection with it. And it is, it has these three incidents. One where it gets its beard caught in the wedge of the log. The other one is where it gets it entangled in the fishing line. And the third one is where it's going to be flown off by an eagle, or taken away by an eagle. And they in each case, their way of releasing this negative animus is to cut off his part of his beard. Okay. Well, not in the third case. They just rough up his clothes. That's right before the bear kills him. But the idea is they want to shut off his unconscious talk in their head. They keep cutting his beard off because this is what's happening, is the unconscious talk in his head. So anyway, at that point, after, now the other thing is that this dwarf has been stealing all the treasures of the bear. Okay, the animus that the woman absolutely requires, all its treasures are being stolen by the negative animus. Okay, all our treasures are being stolen. Right. So this is what von Franz said, that a lot of the women that worked with Jung came in and they knew they immediately had to start doing creative work. And that means they needed to bring the dwarf up and have the dwarf work with the dwarf and create, bring created things into the world, because that's what the animus requires of the woman, is her creative aspect. Okay. And that's how she brings the treasures into herself, the treasures of meaning, the archetype of meaning, you know. And she also broadens her horizons. The animus helps her. She does never wants to leave the realm of the narrow horizon, the one where she is the absolutely essential role of the spirit of an atmosphere of connectedness everywhere. But she also needs to be connected to this other realm. Now, she brings up, let's just finish this part where the bear comes and without any, knows exactly what he's going to do. His aggressiveness does not need to shout. It's conscious of what it's doing. It's not doing it unconsciously. He just puts an end to this negative animus. Okay, and so now what happens then is the girls have reached a stage after sort of these three events where now suddenly they can this bear, the undifferentiated animus within them, is now a fully differentiated animus, a man dressed in a tall man dressed in gold, you know, and so that is the end of the fairy tale. But what von Franz says, it's like the end of a positive dream. She says, you know, she says, what we learned is that there are, where the pond is, and that there's fish in the pond. But we haven't caught any fish yet. You know, I mean, she's saying that it's a positive thing, but the intuitive needs to enter the sensate world before it can actually, you know, be realized. You know, now here's the bear with the girls. They still look a little young in this picture, but they at least now have went through their bear shirt days, like the girls at the Artemis Shrine. Now, she talks about now this attitude of the wrong kind of compassion, the wrong kind of pity. Okay, and this is so important with I mean, I don't know, every one of us has experienced it. I know I have in my family where you know, my sister has an abusive husband, and well, you know, you have to finally say, get out of here. You know, that's the bear speaking. Get out of here. You know, I need and she says that the often why people put up with this for years and years, she says, is because they have the negative animus in them too. They have the negative animus in them. And she says these type of men, she says, tend to be puer, like they're, you know, when they are coddled by a woman who puts up with them, that woman is tending to be maternal with them. She's not their husband, she's their mother, you know, and they are always very cruel to their mother, you know, and they tend to take shortcuts on everything. And she says she's taking a shortcut on it too, rather than being alone and finding the treasure hard to attain that she should have. The negative animus within her tells her, if you do that, you'll be alone, you'll be all by yourself, you're not going to have anybody with you, and you're never going to get anywhere. And so she says, well, I guess I'll just keep tolerating this person. But she says, you need the bear to come in and put an end to it. Now, she says, okay, now you have to do hard work. Okay, what's your problem? I mean, this was the problem with that woman in Anna Marjula and the one in Gerhard Adler book was, you need to deal with your feeling function. See, it's a sense of self-deception. Instead of dealing with my own feeling function and with my own relationships with the outer world on not a short-term basis, but one of where I'm learning myself, and I'm not going to just spill the milk of mother's pity and compassion on people who are undeserving of it. I have to go through an initiation. And she says, this is really what happens. She says, the woman's shortcut is to escape loneliness by the wrong kind of compassion. And she needs to she needs to throw the bum out, and it puts her back in the dilemma of loneliness, which takes a lot of effort, a lot of feeling, and a lot of thinking to get out of. Is that so bad? She says. She says that's an initiation. Every event like this is an initiation. And if she can get through it and come out on the other side, she's going to be fine. Every dark thing one falls into is an initiation. To be initiated into a thing means to go into it, to go into your loneliness. And the first step of being alone, throwing the bum out, throwing the negative animus in your life out or in the inner world out. The first step is falling into the dark place, and usually appears in dubious or negative form initially. You're falling into something, being possessed by something. And shamans say the medicine man begins by falling into the power of demons, and the one who pulls out becomes a shaman. The one who stays in it is the sick person. So every psychological illness is an initiation in something which belongs to you, and now you must get out of it. So that's her answer to the person who says they can't get rid of the bum because they'll be all alone then, you know. And so the idea too is that's the only way that the woman, because she's taking shortcuts, she's deceiving herself, you know. And the idea is that what she says is that if the woman does not help her positive animus or her animus, he creates mischief. He must have his chance to live in her, in the woman. And such work means complying with unconscious needs. And in the case of the animus, it wants her creative libido, you know, to work with it, basically with her dreams, and to work with her unconscious images. And you know, Gary mentioned it could be you know, I'm an intuitive and an introvert, so I mean, we have to hear from you know, talking about the sojourner, Miles was talking about, you know, we're all these little travelers, you know, on this little on this rock, you know, and we all see things from different perspectives, you know, and we think it's a complete perspective. It's far from a complete perspective, you know. I'm seeing things from the overcompensated male, introverted, intuitive side. Okay. Somebody else is seeing it from the standpoint of the over developed feminine, extroverted feelings side. Okay. Now, we both have our realities, but they're almost completely different, you know. But my reality feels real to me. Her reality feels real to her, you know. But the idea of what is the total reality? is very mysterious, you know, but it is something that we always have to keep in mind, that we're, well, and the one thing I wanted to finish with, and it's a really good finish for people who study things, you know, is beard entanglement, okay? This dwarf keeps getting his beard entangled in all his instruments, okay? And she says that this often happens in a woman who's had to raise herself. She says it isn't as common today, but when women were raised in the feminine quarter and then tried to enter out into a more thinking quarter, she says they often tended, not all, but some tended to go in, and this, I do the same thing. You know, when you first, let's say when I first read Snow White and Rose Red, okay, I'm just holding on to certain things because I don't know really how each paragraph connects with each other. You know, I'm sort of a little bit bewildered by it. You know, the second or third time you write, and if you take notes, then it starts to become a piece. But in the first couple times, my beard is caught in the my instruments, because she says what the woman will do is she'll memorize the big bibliography or the glossary or the index or the table of contents, you know, and the idea is, and Tim, you would know about this too, wasn't it? Who was it that said that you need to do art, you need to study the rules until you absolutely have memorized them and you know all of them, and then you have to forget them all. You know?
Yeah, a bunch of artists have talked about that.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you're really doing the work, but this was sort of the way you got into it, is that you had to learn all the rules and then you have to forget them, you know, and so it's this case of the beard entanglement. And the other thing, of course, we just mentioned that the beard has to do with is the now the one thing is on the there is this idea of the in the case of the man, she brings this up, is, and this is the case of the woman too, is the man and the woman need to lead their own lives in their own spheres of she talks about the many possibilities soul. You know, it's funny because I had a dream just 2 nights ago where here is the dream, that I had a mat, exercise mat, which when I lie on it, it makes an impression. And it turned into the Shroud of Turin. So I'm walking around with the Shroud of Turin now. It's my exercise mat. And then there is also a scroll there with a bunch of runes on it that were owned by the anima. So I own the image. The anima has the words. And then we go to somewhere where there's these elders people, and they said that to find out what this means, we have to find out there are many snake possibilities. What are there many snake possibilities? You know, so what are the many snake possibilities? You know, it's so what I was saying is that the woman and the man need to fully lead out what their snake tells them to do. You know, Jung always said that his snake told him he couldn't stay with Freud anymore. You know? So what is the snake telling you? And what is the snake telling me? Probably completely 2 different things, the many snake possibilities, you know. And so, so the feminine needs to be very strong in her fear if that's what her snake is telling her to do. And I need to, the hero adventure, that is what she brings up. The one thing the knight could not do is to just stay in the castle for year after year with his lady. That's stagnation. He needs to have a strong relationship with the anima, but he also needs to proceed out in the world and follow his snake possibilities. And the woman needs the same thing from the man. She needs the meaning and the structure he provides to that have to relate to consciousness. But she needs to work in the receptive realm, wordless realm too. She's the master of the wordless magical realm, and she needs to operate there. And it's the realm of feeling, and it's the realm of intuition, and it's the realm of life and nature with her natural mind. She says that women tend to have a natural mind where men tend to have a synthetic mind, a mind that is not a natural mind. It tends to be have an artificial character. It's very powerful because of that, because it's so direct. Where the natural mind is not direct, isn't worried so much. That's what Marion Woodman says. It doesn't care about goals. It's more interested in just the journey and the process. So anyway, let's see. There was a little bit of a beautiful thing she said at the end, and we're at 11:45. Turn it open. We're just going to finish this one up, and just as Zine said too. We kind of rushed through it. She said there's no need to rush through it. Let's kind of go through it. I mean, now I've kind of went through it. I mean, it makes more sense to me when I'm by myself. Let's see. Let's just see if there's anything. Well, we got to mention the marriage quaternity. Okay, the marriage quaternity was that the dwarf turns into to the bear's brother. Okay, she says it probably was the bear's brother or something, but anyway, the rose red, the emotional, sensual aspect within us marries the positive animus brother. Okay, that the more the more white side of us as the woman marries the positive animus. Okay, so there's this marriage quaternity within us. And I'm not saying I completely understand it, but there is ego consciousness and the anima, and then there is there could be, then there's two other figures, probably the king and the queen within us. They would be probably personality number 2, and then his the sacred wedding. I'm not exactly sure about that, but I mean it's the probably the second or third conjunctio, which I'm not even close to. But anyway, we could have a discussion. We don't have to go for the full, however, but let's just, Gary, I'm just going to turn it over to you. And just any questions, comments, or any things you've been thinking about that are even related to this. Go ahead,
well,
Gary.
Before we kind of make the circle, I've got a question on this. You said that the woman who worked with Jung had to bring up the dwarf in them in order to raise the creative. And I remember, who was it? Fox? One of the women that worked with Jung was very upset because he did not give her credit in his works. And she felt that, she was actually responsible for a number of them. But,
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not thinking of who that would be, but go ahead. Was it Sabrina Spielrein?
No.
Or Carrie Baines?
Oh, maybe it was.
And there was the one with who developed the intuition, you know, this intuitive part
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
was that was the, was that the
Maria.
one?
I thought it was Tony Fox, but maybe not.
Oh, Tony Wolf.
Or Tony Wolf, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think she ever complained about that, but I do think you were on it. You know who it was? It was, I can, while you're talking, Gary, I'll show you a picture.
Yeah, so, but, you know, but the thing that has me a little bit confused is why would it be the dwarf? Why wouldn't it be the, you know, the positive animus that would bring up the creative?
It is, I didn't, the dwarf just represents is that creative aspect that's hidden in the unconscious that needs to come, you know, it works in the underworld, okay, needs to be brought up. So it isn't the dwarf in this dream, you know, it's just the dwarf tends to represent the unconscious creative aspect in a woman that is it needs to be brought to the surface. So yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it was this dwarf. No, because he would absolutely not be that dwarf. But anyway, the creative aspect of the maybe Jan, you could put that little I can think of it. It's just where it was the paragraph before and the paragraph after she mentions the women who worked with Young. I'm trying to remember. You know who that woman was? Gary was the one that in Young's dream told him, or in his active imagination, he says, "What is this I'm doing? Is it psychology or what is it?" And then he hears his voice, and it was her voice, said, "This is art." And he said, "No, it's not." Okay. Now, what did he mean by that? What he meant by it is that it had a meaning component in it, and it had a. In other words, it may be art, but it's not art that is important to anyone but me, because the art in this is to transform me. It can't transform anybody else the way it transforms me. It might affect somebody else, but the other person needs to do their own art to have that same effect in them. They can look at it and say, "Wow, this is just amazing," or it might inspire them, but it's not. Yeah, I am drawing a blank on her name, but I could just see her face. But go ahead, Gary. I'll find it.
I guess so. The other thing that you said the female consciousness must not go to the other side too quickly to meet the masculine level. You know, but it has to wait to meet the masculine level, you know, at a higher level, which was the idea of the bear shirt. So but that means there must be like an equivalent for the masculine not to go over to the other side as well. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, well, she mentions that circumcision is not enough. Okay, what they have to do. I mean, she mentioned the one who has to. You go into the men's secret societies. You get scarified. You need to learn how to speak in council meetings. You in the one that she mentions is the one who needs to take his hair and decorate it with all of the things that he finds on his spirit journeys, you know, and so that his head becomes his cathedral, you know, and he walks around with his cathedral, and not until his head is a cathedral can he marry. You know, so the woman needs to be veiled until she becomes a full adult feminine. And I think this is what Briar Rose is about. You know, the fact that she has to serve a certain time in a cocoon and under the veil and develop her feminine so she can meet the masculine at a higher level. So at that point, she can still have all her creative powers, and they won't be what von Franz. This is not science or gospel or anything, but she said that it tends to burn you out if you enter the sexual world too quickly. Of course, this was written in the 30s, so it's a little or 50s, I guess. But anyway, it's go ahead. Did that help or unhelp or what?
Well, so going back to what you said about the male, that he needs to like decorate his hair, would you expound on that a little bit? I'm not sure if I'm following yet. Is that, you mean?
His head needs to become, at least in this one tribe, his head needs to become a spiritual cathedral. So he cannot enter the masculine realm when he reaches sexual maturity. I mean, he can't enter the world of sexuality when he reaches just puberty. He can only enter the world of sexuality when he has reached spiritual maturity. At that point, then he's appropriate husband for a woman in the tribe. They don't want the women in the tribe. Now we're getting into a little bit of cultural stuff, but this is also psychological too. It's the sort of this unconscious aspect of the initiations and transitions. Now they didn't occur. People didn't live too long back then.
Well,
so
I
it's a
guess
pretty truncated life, but
I mean, I guess in one way, it's the meeting of the sacred with the profane, and if all you have is the profane, then it's kind of short-lived, and the magic in it isn't seen. So that would make sense. That I think I get that. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go around. And on my screen, Annette, you're first, so go for it.
Sorry, there's some things with my phone, but can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. I just find it all a beautiful fairy tale, and just really alive in all. I'm still in awe of your exercises, to be honest. I'm and if that the chair method, and I just realized, but I think you often see that in fairy tales as well. The change, like until there is no way out, until the dwarf's beard wasn't cut, he still had a way out, and like we all need sometimes very opposite forces, and then the third or the new change is happening, and that's how I saw it, and that also is happening in your chair method, which I found very amazing. Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad that's so. Yeah, I think, I'm hoping we can, get some more people involved, and then, maybe the next time we do our sacred circle, which I think,
Awesome.
then we'll get, more people talking about the experiences. But and when Craig sends out his next email, I'll have him provide the link for the paper, which I keep playing with, up on Google Docs, so it keeps changing. Yeah. So, Tim, do you have anything?
Well, I have a clarifying question for Craig. A little while ago, you were talking about the white aspect marries the positive animus.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like you were going to say the red aspect marries maybe the negative animus, or
no, his brother. The positive animus is brother.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, he didn't marry the dwarf. He could have married. She says, now this is not me. She said that he could have married. She could have married the dwarf if he wasn't so annoying. But instead, the dwarf To be suitable to marry Rose Red, he needs to transform into the positive animus's brother. He couldn't marry the dwarf, I guess. I mean,
So that's where the cathedral head comes in.
yes, right, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, so
Well, I'm really intrigued with the red and white aspects of the man's anima,
mhm,
and
yes.
and it seems like one of the things I'm experiencing is, I've been getting to know my anima for 30 years, and it seems like there's not a very red aspect to it. It's mostly a white anima. And now I'm beginning to see, well, all of these mythical characters are different aspects. And so I need to become familiar with all the different aspects. And the red part kind of confuses me because I associate that with the somatic, the body and sexuality and materiality. And so how do I find that in a spiritual aspect of my own character, that kind of thing?
Well, Hillman, discusses the colors a lot, and he says that albedo is not the end. The end is rubedo, the redness. And this is it is only in rubedo, and I'm finding this more and more everywhere I go. And I was telling my wife, this is that all the gods, all the myths, all the devils and demons, and all the wisdom that is the same that shaped our bodies. The same one that shaped our bodies. So this rubedo, and I really think while we're alive, that's what is the absolute the goal is the rubedo. I was telling, we were talking about the secret of the golden flower a little bit ago and I showed this picture to Gary. This, I do these little things, or I call them little note cards, but worldly people lose the roots and cling to the treetops, So the people who aren't worldly are the ones who are who listen to the wisdom that shapes bodies, the wisdom that shapes bodies. And so that's the rubedo aspect.
Well, I'm wondering if there isn't a cultural influence, because I've really become aware that I've been struggling with Freud's concept of the sexual drive. And the more I think about it, the more I think, that is not quite right. I feel like what humans have is a drive for connection. And because of the Judeo-Christian culture that for 1700 years has told us that the body is the seat of the devil, then the cultural shadow moves into the somatic realm, and especially the sexual. And so when Freud comes along and he says, oh, we all have this drive, it's the culture that makes him say it's a sexual drive. And I think what we really, really crave is simply connection. And it's the culture that gets alarmed at the sexual part, and so therefore identifies with it. And I think all of us are sucked into that same attitude that sex becomes a kind of pole.
Well, if it's too literal, the idea is Freud takes it much too literally, and the idea is that there is something. Well, here's the thing that for the feminine who's tied to the earth, okay, she, when she has unites with the masculine, she's uniting with that thing that is above the earth. So there's an aspect to her of the albedo in it, you know, the whiteness, okay? You know, so there's a spiritual aspect to the conjunction. Yet the man is all up here in the albedo right now, you know? And so when he has to come down and he has a conjunction with nature, with life, with the earth, with the feminine, he feels, I'm slightly sullied, you know, I want to go back to the whiteness, you know. And so so if you are in a religion of whiteness, you cannot spend much time in that realm because you're not pure anymore, you know. And so that is, but let's go back to the pre-Socratics or someplace like that, or go back to, let's not even go back, let's go to you know, other places who don't okay, you know, what we have in Europe now, or in the European consciousness, is the pin set eyes, where everything's taken so literally, you know, and it just blows away any magical. So you're left with the world of dry stones. None of this stuff speaks to us on the more magical level. But anyway, I was going to try to, you know, eros is not is connectedness, but it's not necessarily. Sexuality is you know, is just a brief aspect, you know. I mean, what are we really talking about? I mean, is it here's the one thing that you can do, and I find this over and over again, is you mistake the magic and the meaning that are behind sexuality for the outer manifestations of it, you know. There is something much deeper that lies behind it, yet we get stuck at the image. You know, you mistake the finger for the moon or whatever they say, you know. I mean, the idea is they awaken energies in us, but those energies are in us, you know. I mean, it's there's an idea is that you need to find out what the meaning behind the image is, and not get stuck to the literalness of the sexual aspect, even the literalness of the woman and the man, you know. We need to know that creates this tension, which allows energy flow. And but if you are a conscious masculine, conscious feminine, then you have an aspect of that is without attachment, as we learned in the crown chakra thing. So if you're without attachment, then you can experience these energies with a certain amount of where you're not you're conscious of it. Anyway, I'm going on and on. I don't really know if I'm clarifying anything either.
You know, one definition I heard of the act of love is the attempt to find God in one another. And it's that, you know, it's that the, you know, the sacred is you know, I guess camouflaging the profane, that, you know,